Logan Bennett's bedside clock showed 5:30 a.m. when his eyes opened. No alarm was necessary. His internal rhythm was as reliable as the systems he engineered. He slipped quietly out of bed, careful not to disturb Sophia. Not that it mattered. She rarely stirred before 9 a.m., especially after her late-night yoga classes. Their master bedroom, like the rest of their upscale Austin home, reflected Sophia's extravagant preferences. A crystal chandelier, custom silk drapes, and a tufted headboard that cost more than Logan's first car. He crossed the heated marble floors to their ensuite bathroom, catching a glimpse of his reflection in the gilded mirror. At 32, Logan maintained a fit physique through regular workouts and a healthy lifestyle, remnants of his college athlete days, though Sophia seemed unimpressed as of late. By 5:45, Logan was in the home gym, a space he had carefully designed but seemed to be the only one using. The rhythmic sound of the rowing machine filled the early morning silence, as his thoughts wandered to the discussion he'd had with his development team about a new security protocol. Their innovative approach promised to save clients millions in potential breach costs, though neither Sophia nor her mother, Eleanor, would understand or care. After finishing his workout, he showered and dressed, moving efficiently through their sleek kitchen. The coffee maker came to life, its aroma filling the air, as the first rays of dawn lit up the manicured lawn through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The house had been a source of pride when they bought it 3 years ago. Its modern limestone and glass architecture was the perfect blend of style and security. Logan had equipped it with cutting-edge systems, smart lighting, advanced security, and automated climate control. Sophia, however, had cared only about the zip code. His phone buzzed with a security alert from TechSafe Industries, one of his major clients. Setting aside the eggs he was about to crack, Logan opened his laptop. Within moments, he identified the source of 3 failed login attempts from an Eastern European IP address, adjusted the firewall rules, and resolved the issue, all before most people had even sipped their first coffee. More computer stuff? Sophia's voice, tinged with disdain, came from the kitchen doorway. She was dressed in designer yoga wear that likely cost more than Logan's car payment, her dark hair perfectly styled even at this hour. "Don't you ever stop being such a nerd?" Logan closed his laptop slowly, maintaining his composure. "That nerd stuff pays for this house," he replied, returning to breakfast prep and cracking eggs with more force than necessary. "You're so dramatic about money," Sophia scoffed, dropping onto the leather sectional and scrolling through her phone. "Chelsea says her husband never questions her spending." "Chelsea's husband is also under investigation for securities fraud," Logan muttered, whisking the eggs with mechanical precision. The bacon sizzled in the pan, filling the room with its savory aroma. "Want breakfast? I'm making your favorite. Crispy bacon and eggs with that fancy French cheese you like," he offered. "Can't. Watching my weight." Sophia didn't even glance up from her phone. "Oh my God, Logan, come look at this. Chelsea just got the new Range Rover Sport. It's perfect." Logan, focusing on cooking, replied evenly, "We've talked about this. The Tesla is barely 2 years old." "But it's so basic," she whined. "Everyone at the country club drives luxury SUVs. I look like I'm trying too hard to care about the environment or something. It's embarrassing." "Heaven forbid anyone mistake you for someone who cares about the planet," Logan retorted, sarcasm lacing his words. "Don't be snarky. It doesn't suit you," Sophia said, standing and stretching in a way that once would have distracted him. "The dealership's having a promotion this weekend. We should at least look." Before Logan could respond, the doorbell rang. Checking his phone's security feed, he saw Eleanor Whitaker, Sophia's mother, standing at the door with shopping bags from high-end stores. "It's open, Mom," Sophia called, ignoring Logan's sigh of protest. Eleanor swept in, her designer perfume arriving seconds before she did. She air-kissed Sophia's cheeks with theatrical flair, making even that gesture feel superior. "I brought the premium pregnancy vitamins you asked for from that specialty pharmacy in Westlake Hills," Eleanor announced, her smile cooling as she turned to Logan. "Not those generic ones you buy at chain stores." "Good morning, Eleanor. Coffee?" Logan offered politely, though his patience was wearing thin. "Oh, sweetie," she laughed, a brittle sound. "I don't do drip coffee. I just had my espresso at Cafe Milano, you know, where the executives have breakfast. But I suppose Starbucks suits you better." "Mom, be nice," Sophia giggled, though her tone lacked conviction. "Practical," Eleanor declared, settling onto the couch and taking up an inordinate amount of space with her designer bag. "Is that what they call it these days?" Sophia, remember when I saw him at that dreadful electronics store last week, getting all excited over some new gadget? That gadget was a state-of-the-art security system that protects this house, Logan said evenly. But please, tell me more about how your country club membership keeps us safe at night. There he goes with his security obsession, Eleanor sighed. Sophia, remember Bradley? That delightful hedge fund manager you dated before Logan? He just made partner at his firm. Saw it in the society pages. Mother, Sophia said, though her tone was half-hearted. That was years ago. And now he drives a Bentley and lives in a stunning high-rise downtown, Eleanor added wistfully. Such a shame things didn't work out. Logan checked his watch. I should get to work. Some of us have actual responsibilities. Oh yes, your little IT job, Eleanor said, her tone dripping with condescension. All those computers and codes and whatever else. It must be intriguing for a certain type of person. At least people like me can afford homes without relying on a trust fund from Daddy, Logan muttered, grabbing his laptop bag. What was that, dear? Eleanor's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Nothing. Have a great day, ladies. He leaned in to kiss Sophia, but she turned her head, leaving his lips to brush her cheek instead. Don't forget to check the Range Rover website, she called after him. The black one with the premium package would be perfect. You're so boring and cheap sometime, she added as he reached the door. It's like you don't want me to have nice things. Have fun with your computers, Eleanor's voice followed him out. Try not to get too excited about all those numbers or whatever it is you do. Their laughter echoed in his mind as he reached his Tesla Model 3. Practical, efficient, and far more advanced than either woman could appreciate. Logan paused, taking a deep breath as the morning sun glinted off his wedding ring. He found himself staring at it, recalling the day Sophia had placed it on his finger. That moment seemed like a lifetime ago. They had met at a charity gala where Logan was presenting TechCore's latest cybersecurity initiative. Sophia had seemed genuinely interested in his work, asking thoughtful questions and laughing at his tech-related jokes. He had been captivated by her beauty and what he thought was depth. Now he wondered if it had all been an act. His phone buzzed with a text from Nick Grayson. They had been best friends since their days at UT Austin, before Nick became one of the city's top lawyers and Logan built his name in cybersecurity. Lunch today? Franklin's Barbecue. My treat. Need your input on some security stuff for the firm, the message read. For the first time that morning, Logan smiled, quickly replying with a yes. Nick had been his best man and the only one to voice concerns about Sophia's materialism. She's different when you're not around, Nick had warned at the rehearsal dinner. Just keep your eyes open, buddy. Perhaps he should have heeded that advice. The drive to work gave Logan time to reflect. 5 years of marriage had created a growing chasm between him and Sophia. She had seemed different when they first met, or maybe he had been too smitten to notice her flaws. Her endless demands for luxury, dismissive attitude toward his career, and subtle digs at his interests. When had all of it begun? Arriving at TechCore Solutions, Logan settled into his corner office on the 15th floor. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls offered a sweeping view of downtown Austin. He sank into his ergonomic chair and powered up his dual monitors, greeted by a flood of urgent emails. Client security breaches, system updates, team evaluations. The typical morning chaos. Morning, boss. Vanessa Clark greeted him, stepping into the office with 2 cups of coffee. TechCore's lead developer, Vanessa, had joined straight out of MIT 3 years ago and quickly proven herself indispensable. She handed him one of the coffees. Thought you might need this. The Richard account had some issues overnight. Thanks, Vanessa, Logan said, taking a grateful sip. What kind of issues? Persistent login attempts from multiple IPs, she explained, perching on the edge of his desk and displaying data on her tablet. Nothing got through, but they were relentless. I implemented the new firewall protocol you designed. It worked perfectly. For the next hour, they delved into security protocols and code. Vanessa shared his enthusiasm for cybersecurity, appreciating the intricacy of well-designed systems. There were no eye rolls or dismissive remarks about computers, just mutual respect and focus. The new AI-driven threat detection is incredible, Vanessa remarked, pointing to a graph. Look at these response times. We're intercepting attempts before they even take shape. Logan nodded, a warm sense of pride spreading through him. The pattern recognition is outperforming expectations. If we can roll this out across all client systems, it'll transform the industry. No wonder you became senior architect at 32, Vanessa said with a grin. Try telling that to my mother-in-law, Logan muttered. To her, I'm just playing with overpriced toys. Vanessa's smile faded. Eleanor's visiting again? Logan sighed, realizing he was gripping his stress ball tightly. Apparently, I'm not providing the right lifestyle. The Tesla isn't flashy enough for Sophia anymore. Didn't you buy that car just 2 years ago? Vanessa asked, incredulous. Yeah, but now Chelsea from her yoga class drives a Range Rover, so nothing else is good enough. He tried to smile. Eleanor says real men buy their wives luxury SUVs. Vanessa snorted. Right, because being a top cybersecurity architect at a major firm isn't impressive enough. That woman's living in the 1950s. She hesitated. Logan, are you happy? The question caught him off guard. Was he? He loved his job and felt proud of his accomplishments. But at home? It's complicated, he admitted. It shouldn't be, Vanessa said, standing and gathering her tablet. You're one of the best in the field. Don't let anyone make you feel like that's not enough. The rest of the morning flew by in a blur of meetings and code reviews. Logan's team respected him, his projects thrived, and he earned a six-figure salary. Yet in the eyes of Sophia and Eleanor, he was still the tech geek who didn't measure up. Lunch with Nick was a welcome reprieve. Franklin's barbecue was crowded as usual, but Nick's regular status secured them a quiet table. You look like hell, Nick said as Logan sat down. Trouble in paradise? Logan picked at his brisket. Eleanor's in town. Ah, the dragon lady herself, Nick quipped, sliding a beer across the table. What's she criticizing this time? Your car, your job, your existence? All of the above, Logan said, taking a long drink. And Sophia wants a Range Rover. Nick froze, his fork midair. The Tesla you bought her 2 years ago? The one she had to have because her yoga instructor drove one? That's the one, Logan replied, managing a weak smile. But now Chelsea has a Range Rover, so apparently it's a must. Nick shook his head, incredulous. Logan remembered Nick's words clearly. What happened to the girl who said she loved how passionate you were about your work? I'm starting to think she never existed. Logan's eyes dropped to his wedding ring, his thoughts churning. Maybe it had all been a facade. Logan, Nick leaned forward, his expression earnest. I know I wasn't exactly supportive when you got engaged, but you're my best friend. If things are rough, they're not great, Logan admitted quietly. But it's just material stuff, you know? We'll figure it out. Nick didn't look convinced, but shifted the conversation to his firm's security needs. They spent the rest of lunch discussing encryption methods and data protection, topics that made perfect sense to Logan, unlike his increasingly confusing marriage. Back at work, Logan immersed himself in his tasks. By 4:30, he had wrapped up his final meeting ahead of schedule. A sudden thought struck him. Perhaps he could mend things with Sophia, show her that he wasn't as predictable as she claimed. Leaving early? Vanessa asked as Logan packed up his laptop. Yeah, thought I'd stop by that French bakery Sophia likes, he replied, hesitating. Got any advice? You know, for making things better? Leaning against his office doorframe, Vanessa quipped. Other than trading up for a better model? Her smile faded when she saw his serious expression. Sorry, look, Logan, you're one of the good ones. Smart, successful, genuinely kind. If she can't see that, she shrugged, maybe the issue isn't you. The downtown French bakery was bustling with after-work customers, but Logan waited patiently. The glass display case sparkled with rows of delicately crafted pastries, each one a miniature masterpiece. He selected an assortment of Sophia's favorites, raspberry macarons, pink like the accent wall she'd insisted on, pistachio, the shade of the designer bag she'd coveted last month, and chocolate orange, her go-to comfort flavor. Special occasion? The bakery clerk asked as she packed the treats into a box. Just trying to make my wife happy, Logan said, handing over his credit card. Lucky lady, the clerk replied, though her tone hinted at doubt. The drive home gave Logan time to rehearse his words. He'd acknowledge being overly focused on work and suggest they take a weekend trip together, just the two of them. Perhaps they could rediscover what they had lost. But when Logan pulled into the driveway, Eleanor's Mercedes still occupied the visitor spot. At 5:55, the house looked unnaturally quiet, with no lights on despite the encroaching dusk. As Logan approached the front door, balancing the bakery box, voices drifted from the slightly ajar kitchen window. The timing is perfect, Sophia's voice rang out, clear and sharp. Once the baby is born, I'm divorcing him. We'll get the house and child support. Logan froze, his hand hovering over the doorknob. Make sure he doesn't find out the baby isn't his, Eleanor said, her tone brimming with smugness. He's such a pushover. He'll never suspect anything. Too distracted by his precious computers to notice what's happening right under his nose. Sophia's laughter pierced the air like shattering glass. God, he's such a loser. You should see him at night, geeking out over his coding projects like some awkward teenager. At least Richard knows how to treat a woman, Eleanor remarked approvingly. That personal trainer from Pure Fitness? Sophia's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. The way he touches me. Logan's like an awkward boy in comparison. And Richard actually knows how to dress. No more khakis and polos. How long has this been going on? Eleanor asked. 3 months. Those yoga classes? I've been meeting Richard at his place. Logan doesn't even question it. He probably thinks I'm trying to stay fit for him. Sophia laughed again. As if I care what he thinks. And the baby is definitely Richard's. 100%. Logan and I haven't, in months. I just say I'm tired or have a headache. He accepts it and goes back to his computer. Oh, darling, Eleanor purred, satisfaction evident in her tone. You've played this perfectly. Once the baby arrives, we'll take him for everything. The house, child support, alimony. He'll fund your lifestyle for years. And Richard, Sophia asked. Once you're set up with Logan's money, Eleanor replied, you can do whatever or whoever you want. Their laughter echoed through the house, cruel and mocking. Logan stood motionless, the box of macarons slipping in his grip. His mind, trained to process data and detect patterns, logged every word and its implications with chilling clarity. The baby wasn't his. His wife was cheating with her trainer, and they were planning to strip him of everything he had built. Quietly, he stepped away from the door, ensuring he made no sound. The box of pastries landed in the outdoor trash bin as Logan moved toward his car, his face blank, but his grip on the steering wheel tight enough to turn his knuckles white. The betrayal burned hot inside him, but a cold, calculating resolve began to take over, like the flawless code he designed. They thought he was weak, a pushover, a fool. They had no idea what he was capable of. 5 years of marriage, 5 years of trying to be the husband Sophia claimed to want, 5 years of enduring Eleanor's disdain, all of it built on lies. Logan's phone felt heavy in his hand as he dialed Nick. Hey, can we meet now? Not at your office, your place, Logan said, his voice steady. He paused as Nick's concerned questions came through. Yeah, it's about Sophia. And no, this isn't something that can be fixed with couples counseling. You're scaring me, Nick replied. What's going on? I need a lawyer, Logan said, starting his car. And a friend. Logan, talk to me. What happened? Not over the phone, Logan replied, carefully steering out of the driveway. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Be ready to hear something bad. The engine hummed as he drove into the night. As Logan drove up the winding road to Nick's house in the hills, his mind raced through countless scenarios, analyzing and strategizing. Every system, no matter how flawless it seemed, had weaknesses. Years in cybersecurity had taught him this crucial lesson. The key was pinpointing those vulnerabilities and exploiting them with precision. Sophia and Eleanor believed their plan was foolproof. He would prove just how wrong they were. The setting sun cast long shadows across the neatly trimmed lawns as Logan parked in Nick's circular driveway. His friend was already waiting at the door, worry etched on his face. Nick had been by Logan's side on his wedding day, standing as best man as Logan exchanged vows with a woman who had been lying from the start. Now Nick would help Logan tear those vows apart piece by piece. Come in, Nick said, holding the door open. Start from the beginning. Tell me everything. Logan stepped into the study, glancing at the leather chairs, shelves of law books, and subtle touches of wealth that Eleanor would no doubt admire. Unlike her schemes, Nick had earned every bit of his success, just as Logan had worked for his. No shortcuts, no deception. Just effort and skill. Want a drink? Nick asked, heading toward the bar cart. You look like you need one. Scotch. Double, Logan replied, sinking into one of the chairs. Remember when you told me to keep my eyes open? You were right. Nick handed him a glass. What did you find out? The baby isn't mine, Logan said, taking a long sip and feeling the burn strip away the last traces of his naivety. Sophia's been sleeping with her trainer. She and Eleanor are plotting to take me for everything after the baby's born. Nick sat heavily, his disbelief evident. Jesus Christ, how did you find out? I overheard them talking. They didn't realize I'd come home early, Logan said, his laugh devoid of humor. They think I'm so wrapped up in my computer stuff that I don't notice anything. Called me a pushover, a loser. Nick's professional demeanor slipped, and the friend beneath emerged. Logan, I'm sorry. Don't be. Logan leaned forward, his voice sharp. I don't need sympathy. I need your legal expertise. I want to know every way to protect myself and ensure they regret trying to play me. We'll need proof, Nick said, his lawyer's instincts kicking in. Recordings, documents, anything that shows the affair and their intentions. Leave that to me, Logan said, a cold smile forming. They think I'm just some guy who fiddles with computers. I'll show them what a real IT expert can do. Every email, every text, every transaction, I'll compile a case so airtight they won't know what hit them. Nick studied him carefully. I've never seen you like this. They've never seen me like this either, Logan replied, finishing his drink. That's their mistake. They think I'm a harmless nerd. They're about to learn that underestimating me was their biggest error. What's the plan? First, I document everything. Then I set up surveillance. Legal surveillance, Logan added when Nick gave him a look. I want to track every move they make while keeping up the act of the clueless husband. Let them think their plan is working. And then, Logan's cold smile widened. Then we show them what happens when you underestimate a computer nerd. Start from the top, Nick said, refilling Logan's glass. Every detail matters. Settling into the chair, Logan outlined everything with icy precision. They thought they had it all figured out. Those yoga classes she's supposedly been attending 3 nights a week, they're just cover. Her trainer, Richard, from Pure Fitness, is the guy she's been seeing. Nick grabbed a notepad. How long has this been going on? 3 months, based on what I overheard. Could be longer. That's just what they admitted to. Logan pulled out his phone, checking his home security app. Sophia's still home with Eleanor, probably plotting how to spend my money. We need to be smart about this, Nick said, switching fully into lawyer mode. Do you have direct evidence of the affair yet? Not yet, but I'll get plenty, Logan replied, opening his laptop. His fingers moved swiftly over the keyboard. I've designed security systems for banks, tech companies, even government contractors. You think I can't set up surveillance in my own house? Keep it legal, Nick warned. No audio recording without consent. Texas is a one-party consent state. I already checked, Logan said, spinning the laptop around to show Nick a cart loaded with high-end security gear. Everything here is legal. Cameras for common areas only. Visual, no sound. What they reveal about who's coming and going, that's just home security. Nick whistled at the prices. This is serious equipment. Top of the line, Logan said, his eyes glinting with determination. The same stuff I install for corporate clients. Sophia thinks I waste money on tech toys? Let's see what those toys uncover. What about Eleanor? Nick asked. I've got plans for her too. Logan switched screens, pulling up a set of emails. She's not as careful online as she thinks. I've already found some interesting correspondence about their scheme. A knock at the study door interrupted them. Vanessa stepped inside, looking slightly hesitant. Sorry I'm late. Traffic on Mopac was awful. Nick gestured for her to come in. Vanessa, thanks for coming. You said it was urgent. She glanced between Logan and Nick, noting the scotch and legal pad. Judging by the setup, I'm guessing it's bad. Sophia's cheating, Logan said flatly. The baby isn't mine. She and Eleanor are planning to clean me out in the divorce. Vanessa's expression hardened. Those manipulative, what do you need? Your expertise, Logan said, motioning to his laptop. I'm setting up surveillance. I need it to be untraceable, something neither Sophia nor her trainer will notice. Say no more. Vanessa sat beside him, scanning the equipment list. This is good, but you'll want XR7 cameras instead. Better in low light, smaller profile. She adjusted the order. And this encryption software, it's essential for securing the data. Nick watched them work, his notepad filling with notes. Remember, anything we collect has to be admissible. Don't worry, Vanessa replied, not looking up from the screen. By the time we're done, every byte of data will have an unbreakable chain of custody. Logan watched with quiet satisfaction as Vanessa finished her setup, her skill evident in the precision of her work. Sophia and Eleanor might have viewed him as weak and pathetic, but they had no concept of the resources he could mobilize. How are you planning to act around them? Nick asked, his tone cautious. They can't suspect anything's different. Don't worry, Logan replied with a sharp smile. I'll play the clueless husband perfectly. Let them think their plan is succeeding. 3 days later, Logan stood in his home office, surrounded by discreet surveillance gear and monitoring equipment. Vanessa made the final tweaks to a minuscule lens hidden among books on a shelf. Feed 3, she murmured into her headset, testing the setup. Behind her, multiple monitors displayed different views of the house. Nick, you getting this? She asked. Crystal clear. Nick's voice came through the secure channel. Living room, kitchen, and main entrance are all covered. These cameras are incredible, Logan said, inspecting one of the tiny devices. How did you get them so quickly? Called in a few favors from our security suppliers, Vanessa said with a grin. Told them it was for a classified project. Technically, not a lie. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway interrupted their conversation. On screen 4, Eleanor's Mercedes appeared. Showtime, Logan said, straightening. You two head out the back. Remember, Vanessa said, grabbing her bag of tools. Act like everything's normal. Trust me, Logan replied, adjusting his collar. I can handle my wife and her dear mother. As his friend slipped away, Logan opened his laptop and pulled up work emails. Just another day as the unsuspecting husband. Logan? Sophia's voice called from the foyer. Are you actually home early? In my office, he replied. Just wrapping up some work. Sophia appeared in the doorway, Eleanor close behind. Both women wore pristine designer workout outfits, though Logan doubted either had broken a sweat. Still obsessing over that network upgrade? Sophia asked, her tone thick with mockery. Logan kept his eyes on the screen. Someone has to fund your shopping sprees. Speaking of shopping, Eleanor chimed in, Sophia found the most adorable nursery set at that boutique in Westlake Hills. Did she? Logan finally looked up, keeping his expression neutral. I'm guessing it wasn't cheap. Only the best for our baby, Sophia said, resting a hand on her stomach. Once the gesture would have filled Logan with joy, now it made his blood run cold. The crib alone is imported from Italy, she added. Imported crib, Logan said flatly, very practical. Oh, don't start with the money thing again, Sophia said, sliding onto his desk to block his view of the screen. I was thinking, maybe we should do some genetic testing for the baby's health. Logan's pulse quickened, though he kept his face impassive. Genetic testing? Just routine stuff, Eleanor interjected smoothly. All modern parents do it. Including paternity testing? Logan asked casually, watching their reactions. Sophia's smile faltered for an instant. Why would we need that? Just being thorough. Like you said, all modern parents do it. Logan shut his laptop. I'll set up the appointments tomorrow. That's not really necessary, Eleanor said quickly. I insist, Logan said firmly, standing. After all, only the best for our baby, right? Sophia forced a laugh. Don't be ridiculous, honey. Those tests are expensive and unnecessary. Money's no object, Logan said, walking toward the door. Not when it comes to our child's health. Logan! Sophia's voice held a hint of unease. I'm heading to the gym, he called over his shoulder. Don't wait up. In the home gym, Logan started the rowing machine, matching the steady rhythm to his controlled breathing. On his phone, he watched the live feed from his office cameras. He's acting weird, Sophia whispered, her voice sharp. Do you think he knows? Don't be paranoid, Eleanor said dismissively. He's probably just trying to show he can afford whatever you want. Use it to your advantage. And the paternity test? Sophia asked, her voice lower. Easily handled, Eleanor replied with a sly smile. I know people who can make it disappear. For the right price, of course. Are you sure? Trust me, darling. By the time we're finished, he won't know what hit him. Logan allowed himself a cold smile. No, they had no idea what was coming. The next morning, Logan arrived at work earlier than usual. Vanessa was already at her desk, reviewing the overnight footage. Anything interesting, he asked, setting a coffee beside her. Oh, definitely, Vanessa said, pulling up a few video clips. After you went to the gym, they had a little strategy session. Watch this. The footage showed Sophia and Eleanor in the kitchen, heads close together. Vanessa explained, Eleanor has a contact at the testing facility. They're planning to bribe someone to alter the results. Perfect, Logan said, his smile sharp. Send everything to Nick. It's time for phase 2. At his desk, Logan began securing his assets. Multiple screens displayed his financial data, account balances, property records, investment portfolios. One by one, he transferred everything into secure trusts and hidden accounts Nick had helped set up. His phone buzzed with a message from Sophia. Scheduled the genetic testing for next week. Love you. Logan replied with a simple great. Let her think he was still the oblivious fool. Another message came in, this one from Nick. Documents ready. Come by the office. Nick's law office occupied the top floor of a downtown skyscraper. His corner office, with its stunning city view, was the kind of space Eleanor would envy. Everything's in place, Nick said, spreading papers across the desk. The house is in the trust, Accounts are secure, and the prenup is under review. They won't touch a dime. Nick handed Logan a thick folder. Once we prove paternity fraud and conspiracy, they'll have no case. Later, Logan sat beside Sophia in the muted waiting room of the medical center, the soft music doing little to calm his nerves. He watched as she fidgeted with her designer handbag. Mrs. Bennett? A nurse appeared with a clipboard. We're ready for both of you, the nurse said, her tone calm and professional. Both of us, Sophia repeated, her voice slightly higher than usual. It's standard for genetic screening, the nurse explained. We'll need samples from both parents. Logan gave Sophia's hand a reassuring squeeze and felt her tense under his touch. Shall we, honey? In the exam room, Logan observed as the nurse methodically drew their blood. Sophia's complexion had noticeably paled. When will we get the results? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. About a week, the nurse replied. We'll run a full panel, including paternity confirmation. Is that really necessary? Sophia's attempt at laughter sounded forced. It's always good to be thorough, Logan said smoothly. Isn't that right, sweetheart? Back in the car, Sophia sat unusually quiet. Logan drove with one hand on the wheel, his other discreetly checking his phone. A text from Vanessa lit up the screen. Eleanor made 3 calls during your appointment. Want to hear the recordings? Everything okay? Sophia asked, noticing his faint smile. Perfect, Logan said, slipping the phone into his pocket. Just work stuff. Hey, why don't you call your mother and let her know how it went? Sophia hesitated before pulling out her phone, her hands shaking slightly. Logan activated the car's Bluetooth, capturing every word of the conversation. Mom, it's done, Sophia said. Yes, they took samples from both of us. I don't know. He insisted on the paternity screening. Can your contact help or not? Logan kept his eyes on the road, his expression neutral, but every detail etched itself into his memory. Through a tiny communicator in his ear, Nick and Vanessa listened in real time. Got that? Logan murmured quietly. Every word, Nick replied, his voice grim, adding it to the evidence. At home, Logan retreated to his office, while Sophia began a series of frantic phone calls. Hidden cameras caught her pacing the living room, gesturing wildly as she spoke. This wasn't part of the plan, she hissed into her phone. Richard's freaking out. I know, Mom, but what if your contact can't switch the samples in time? Eleanor arrived 20 minutes later, storming in without knocking. Logan observed them through his monitors as Eleanor took control of the situation. Calm down, Eleanor ordered. I've got it handled. Marcus at the lab owes me a favor. He'll make sure the results come back the way we want. Well, but what if... Stop panicking, Eleanor snapped, gripping Sophia's shoulders. Logan doesn't suspect a thing. He's probably upstairs right now, glued to his precious computers. Logan's lips curled into a cold smile as he typed commands into his system, ensuring every word and movement was recorded and encrypted. Let them think they had the upper hand. What's our next move? Vanessa's voice came through the communicator. We wait, Logan replied, pulling up his banking app. And now we take the next step. Over the following days, Logan executed his plan with exacting precision. Funds were moved between accounts, properties were transferred into trusts, and all transactions were meticulously documented, leaving no traceable connection to the name Bennett. The house is done, Nick reported during a secure video call. It's officially under the family trust now. They can't touch it. And the accounts? Vanessa asked. Transferred to secure holding, Logan replied, sharing his screen to show the figures. I left just enough in the joint accounts to avoid suspicion. Switching to the surveillance feed, Logan displayed several video clips. We're gathering better material every day. Check this out. On one clip, Sophia was in the bedroom, speaking on speakerphone. Don't worry, baby, she purred. Once the results come back, it's all set. Logan will never know the baby's yours. I don't like this. Richard's voice crackled through the speakers. Wait, what if he finds out? He won't. Trust me, he's clueless. Another clip showed Eleanor in the kitchen making phone calls. Yes, the 3-bedroom penthouse, she said. Once everything's finalized, Sophia will need a suitable place to live. On her soon-to-be ex-husband's dime, of course. On Thursday morning, the DNA results arrived. Logan sat in his office, staring at the sealed envelope. He already knew what it would say. On his monitors, he saw Sophia in the kitchen, anxiously checking her phone. They're here, Logan texted Nick. Ready when you are, came the immediate reply. Logan descended the stairs, the envelope in hand, his steps steady and deliberate. Sophia's head shot up as he entered the kitchen. Is that, she started. The test results, Logan confirmed, holding up the envelope. Shall we call your mother? She doesn't need to be here, Sophia said quickly. Let's not bother her. I insist, Logan said firmly. In fact, she's probably already on her way, isn't she? Right on cue, Eleanor's Mercedes pulled into the driveway. Logan smirked. Earlier footage had captured Sophia's panicked call to her mother, discussing the lab contact meant to alter the results. Eleanor burst through the door, attempting a casual demeanor. I was just in the neighborhood. Perfect timing, Logan said coolly. We're about to open the results. Maybe we should wait, Sophia interjected, reaching for the envelope. Logan held it out of her reach. You seem nervous. Is everything all right? Of course, Sophia's laugh was brittle. Why wouldn't it be? No reason, Logan replied, breaking the seal. Unless there's something I should know. Logan, Eleanor began, her tone dripping with concern. These tests aren't always accurate. You shouldn't trust them blindly. Especially when they've been tampered with, Logan said, his voice like ice. By someone named Marcus at the lab, perhaps? Both women turned ashen. What are you talking about? Sophia whispered. Logan retrieved his phone and pressed play. The room filled with their recorded conversation about bribing the lab technician. Sophia's face drained of all color. And how did you... Oh, I've gathered plenty more, Logan said, pulling out a thick folder. Every scheme, every plan, every betrayal, documented and admissible in court. You've been spying on us? Eleanor's outrage was almost theatrical. No, Logan said flatly. I've been collecting evidence. There's a difference. You can't, Sophia started. Can't what? Protect myself? Logan's humorless laugh filled the room. Did you honestly think I was that naive? That pathetic? Logan stepped forward, his expression unyielding. Tell me, Sophia, how's Richard doing these days? Sophia stumbled back, her face pale. You know, about your personal trainer? The actual father of your baby? Of course, I know. Logan pulled out a stack of photos, spreading them across the counter. Surveillance images of Sophia entering Richard's apartment left no room for doubt. I know everything. Logan, Eleanor interjected, attempting to regain control. Let's stay calm, be reasonable. Reasonable? Logan turned toward her, his tone biting. You mean like planning to take my house, my savings, my life? Spare me. He pulled out another set of documents, slapping them on the counter. The house you wanted to steal? No longer in my name. The accounts you plan to empty? Move to secure trusts. Everything is legal, documented, and completely out of your reach. You can't do this, Sophia screamed. I already have. Logan's voice was cold. You wanted to play games? Congratulations. You just lost. Eleanor tried to intervene, her voice softer. The baby isn't mine, Logan cut in, holding up the DNA test results. Unlike your friend Marcus, I went to a real lab for proper testing. Care to see the results? They're quite clear. Sophia collapsed into a chair, tears spilling down her face. Logan, please! Spare me the theatrics, he said, cutting her off sharply. You're good, Sophia, but not that good. 5 years of marriage, and you never once looked past the computer nerd facade. You never imagined I might actually outthink you. What do you want? Eleanor demanded, her composure slipping. What do I want? Logan's smile was unsettling in its calmness. I want you both out of my house. I want you to explain to Richard why he's about to be a single father. And I want you to spend every day knowing your perfect little plan just blew up in your faces. We'll fight this, Eleanor threatened. With what evidence? What money? Logan gestured around the room. Every plot, every lie, every move you made, it's all documented. My lawyer has multiple copies. Care to explain paternity fraud to a judge? Sophia stood shakily. Logan, we can fix this. Like you fixed things with Richard? He stepped closer, his voice dropping. Laughing with your mother about me. Scheming to take everything I've worked for. No, Sophia. We're far past fixing anything. What about the prenup? Eleanor tried desperately. Surely, funny thing about prenups, Logan replied smoothly. They tend to have morality clauses, infidelity, fraud. Those void the whole agreement. You knew that, didn't you? That's why you planned to keep this hidden until after the baby was born. Outside, the sound of a car pulling up drew their attention. Logan glanced toward the window as Nick's BMW came into view. That's my lawyer, he said. He has the divorce papers ready. You have 2 options, sign them and walk away with nothing, or fight me in court and lose everything, while earning a criminal record in the process. You're bluffing, Eleanor said, though her voice shook. Logan pulled out his phone and pressed play. The room filled with their recorded voices, detailing bribes to the lab technician and explicit plans to hide assets. Still think I'm bluffing? Nick entered without knocking, his briefcase in hand. Everything's ready. Perfect timing, Logan said, turning back to the women. So what will it be? The easy way or the hard way? Sophia glanced at her mother, then back at Logan. Her mask of confidence cracked, revealing fear. You'll never get away with this, Eleanor hissed. I already have, Logan replied, his tone final. Nick began laying out documents. Bank transfers, property deeds, surveillance records. Each piece was damning. Sign, Logan commanded, his voice like steel, or I'll bury you both so deep in legal trouble you'll never recover. Sophia's hands shook as she picked up the pen. Eleanor opened her mouth to protest, but the overwhelming evidence silenced her. Within minutes, the paperwork was complete. Get out, Logan said quietly. Both of you. Your belongings will be sent to you. Try to contact me again, and everything goes public. Logan, please, Sophia began, her voice pleading. Goodbye, Sophia. Logan turned his back on her. And give Richard my regards. He's going to make a great father. Can I vernom? Says Soeyin. After they left, Nick placed a hand on Logan's shoulder. You good? Better than good. Logan watched through the window as Sophia and Eleanor drove away. They thought I was weak, someone they could walk all over. Their mistake. His smile was cold. Their destruction. At Tech Core Solutions, Logan's office buzzed with activity. Multiple screens displayed live surveillance feeds, while Vanessa worked nearby, monitoring the data collected over the past few weeks. They signed? She asked, glancing at the divorce papers spread across Logan's desk. Without much of a choice, Logan replied. His smile was devoid of warmth. Amazing how cooperative people become when their crimes are laid bare. Nick sifted through the pile of evidence, his lawyerly precision ensuring everything was in order. We're not missing a thing. The timestamps on these recordings are airtight. Every conversation, every plot, all flawlessly documented. Speaking of their schemes, Logan said, pulling up a new feed, our friends aren't taking this lying down. The screen showed Sophia and Eleanor seated outside an upscale cafe, their gestures sharp and frantic. Even without sound, their anxiety was evident in the way they glanced over their shoulders. They're planning something, Vanessa warned, enhancing the video. Look at their body language. Let them, Logan said, switching to another screen displaying bank activity. Every move they make just deepens their hole. For instance, Eleanor tried to transfer $50,000 to an offshore account this morning. Was she successful? Nick asked. Of course not, Logan replied. But the attempt is now flagged and documented. Logan's phone buzzed with a text from Detective Carla Moreno. Found something big in the financial records. Need to meet ASAP. How soon can you get here? The Austin Police Department's Financial Crimes Division, housed in a sleek, modern building downtown, was bustling when Logan arrived. Detective Moreno greeted him in her office, where stacks of folders and evidence boxes covered every surface. Your wife and mother-in-law have been busy, she said, spreading documents across her desk. This goes way beyond your case, Mr. Bennett. We're looking at a large-scale criminal operation. Logan scanned the paperwork. What exactly are we talking about? Fraud spanning 5 years in 3 states, Moreno explained, pointing to highlighted transactions. Identity theft, credit card fraud, loan scams. Your case is just one of many. This is their pattern. Nick leaned forward, his instincts firing. How many other marriages? 3 confirmed so far, Moreno said, pulling up additional files. Same routine every time. Sophia marries wealthy men, and Eleanor orchestrates fake paternity claims and financial scams. Together they drain bank accounts and move on, Nick muttered, scanning the files. How have they been getting away with this for so long? Money, Detective Moreno replied, pulling up additional records. They targeted men who valued their reputations more than pursuing justice. Most victims chose to take the financial loss rather than admit they'd been duped. But not this time, Logan said, his voice icy. No, Moreno agreed with a grim smile. This time, they chose someone with the skills to expose them. None of their previous victims had your technical expertise or your evidence. Logan leaned forward. What do you need from me? Everything, Moreno said, sliding a form across her desk. Every recording, every financial transaction, every piece of correspondence you've collected. Make it official. Help us build a case to put them away for good. You'll prosecute? Logan asked. With what you've provided, Moreno said, her smile sharp. We'll bury them so deep they'll need a mining permit to see daylight. Back at his office, Logan updated his team. Vanessa immediately pulled up surveillance feeds, her fingers moving rapidly over the keyboard. "Take a look at this," she said, pointing to footage of Eleanor making frantic phone calls. "She's trying to move funds through 3 different shell companies. But thanks to our tracking," Logan added, "every transaction leaves a trail, and every trail leads straight back to their fraud." Nick was already preparing legal documents. "We can freeze everything. They won't be able to access a single account." "Speaking of accounts," Vanessa said, glancing at her monitoring system, "Sophia just tried to access your old joint account again." "How'd that work out for her?" Logan asked. "About as well as her marriage," Vanessa replied with a smirk. "The bank flagged it as potential fraud right away." Logan's phone buzzed with a string of alerts. His surveillance system had detected movement at key locations. "They're on the move," he announced, pulling up multiple camera feeds. "Sophia just walked into Pure Fitness. I assume she's meeting Richard." "Probably to warn him," Nick said. Logan switched to another feed. "And Eleanor's at her lawyer's office. Not that it'll do her any good." He pressed a button on his desk phone. "Detective Moreno? They're exactly where we predicted. Time to act." What followed was a meticulously planned operation, months in the making. From his command center, Logan watched multiple events unfold across his screens. At Pure Fitness, Moreno led a team through the front doors, badges displayed. Richard, in the middle of a training session, spotted them and bolted for the back exit, only to run into more officers. "Going somewhere?" Moreno's voice came through clear on Logan's feed. I can explain," Richard stammered. "Save it for your statement," Moreno said, nodding to her officers. "Richard Martinez, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and involvement in a criminal enterprise." Simultaneously, another team intercepted Eleanor at her lawyer's office. The poised society matriarch crumbled as officers interrupted her meeting. "Mrs. Whitaker," the lead detective said, "we have a federal warrant for your arrest." "This is outrageous," Eleanor shouted, clutching her designer handbag. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes, ma'am," the detective replied calmly. "That's exactly why we're here." Logan switched feeds to Sophia's arrest. She had attempted to hide in a boutique dressing room, surrounded by expensive clothes she'd intended to charge, to accounts that no longer existed. "You can't do this," Sophia screamed as officers escorted her out in handcuffs. "Logan, tell them to stop!" But Logan wasn't there to hear her pleas. Instead, he watched from his office as all 3 conspirators were led away in separate police cars, their carefully built world of lies collapsing around them. "Mr. Bennett," his assistant's voice came through the intercom. "The FBI agents are here for your statement." Logan adjusted his tie and gathered the evidence files. "Send them in." 2 federal agents entered, their expression serious. "Mr. Bennett," one said, "we've reviewed the initial evidence. This operation goes deeper than we first thought." "I know," Logan replied, handing over an encrypted drive. "This contains complete documentation of their activities over the past 5 years." The lead agent raised an eyebrow. "You've been thorough." "They thought I just played with computer," Logan said with a cold smile. "Time to show them what a real tech expert can do." The interrogation room was cold and stark, a far cry from Eleanor's life of luxury. Logan stood behind one-way glass, watching as she squirmed in her orange jumpsuit. "Semaridu on Whitaker," Agent Saren said, spreading photographs across the table. "Let's discuss your previous victims." "I want my lawyer," Eleanor demanded, though her usual commanding tone had vanished. "Your lawyer's being questioned for his involvement in your schemes," Saren replied with a thin smile. "But feel free to call someone else. We've got plenty of evidence to review while we wait." Next door, Sophia wasn't faring much better. Logan moved to the adjoining observation room, where Detective Moreno was monitoring the interrogation. "Your husband gave us quite the evidence package," Agent Torres told Sophia, laying out bank records and transcripts of recorded conversations. "Logan wouldn't," Sophia began. "Wouldn't what? Protect himself?" Torres interrupted. "Or did you think he was too stupid to figure it out?" Sophia's makeup couldn't mask her ashen complexion. "I want to make a deal." "Too late," Torres said, leaning in. "Richard's already talking. Seems he doesn't like the idea of federal prison." In a third room, Richard was indeed talking. The once confident trainer was a shadow of himself, fear etched across his face. "It was all Eleanor's idea," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "She picked the targets, trained Sophia on how to manipulate them. They had it down to a science." "And your role?" an agent pressed. "I was the backup plan," Richard said bitterly. "If the husband got suspicious, I'd disappear with a cut of the money. But they played me too. Found out I wasn't even the first trainer they'd used, just the latest sucker. How many victims? Logan asked Moreno, his tone measured. 7 confirmed so far, she replied, flipping through her notes. With Richard's testimony, we're uncovering more. Nick entered the room carrying another stack of files. Federal prosecutors want a meeting. They're considering RICO charges. Logan raised an eyebrow. Organized crime statutes? The evidence supports it, Nick said, his smile predatory. Years of systematic fraud, multiple accomplices, and interstate operations. They're looking at serious prison time. The next morning, the media caught wind of the story. Headlines exploded across every platform, detailing the unraveling of Sophia and Eleanor's criminal empire. Society scammers, mother-daughter duo's fraud empire exposed. Tech exec uncovers multi-state marriage fraud ring. False paternity claims tied to sophisticated criminal enterprise. Logan watched the news headlines from his office as Vanessa sifted through additional evidence. Check this out, she said, displaying financial records on her screen. They had accounts in 3 countries and were preparing for a new scheme in California. Not anymore, Logan replied, glancing at his phone. A text from the federal prosecutors popped up. Grand jury meeting tomorrow. When the indictment was announced, it hit hard. Charges included wire fraud, mail fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and money laundering, a total of 47 counts. In the federal courthouse, Logan sat beside Nick as the charges were read. Sophia and Eleanor, clad in matching orange jumpsuits, appeared small and powerless at the defense table. The prosecution will demonstrate, the lead prosecutor declared, that these defendants orchestrated an intricate criminal enterprise, preying on successful professionals through false paternity claims, identity theft, and financial fraud. They stole millions across state lines. The courtroom was tense as Logan took the stand. Sophia and Eleanor sat with their public defenders, expensive lawyers having abandoned them after their assets were frozen. Mr. Bennett, the prosecutor began, can you explain how you discovered the defendant's scheme? Logan's voice was steady as he addressed the packed room. I overheard them discussing their plan. Sophia and her mother were plotting to claim child support for a baby that wasn't mine and take everything I owned in the divorce. What steps did you take after that? I collected evidence, Logan explained. I set up legal surveillance in my home and documented their conversations about defrauding me and others. Objection, Eleanor's lawyer rose. The prosecutor interrupted smoothly. This testimony is supported by extensive documentation. A cart loaded with evidence boxes was wheeled into view. All legally obtained, all authenticated. The judge reviewed the chain of custody paperwork. Objection overruled. Continue, Mr. Bennett. Tournayman. Logan outlined the scheme in detail, his technical expertise clear as he described the methods he used to uncover their crimes. Play surveillance file 7, the prosecutor requested. The courtroom's screens lit up with footage of Sophia and Eleanor in Logan's kitchen. Once this baby is born, Sophia's recorded voice declared, we take everything, just like the others. The others, Marie, the prosecutor prompted. Yes, Eleanor's voice replied. Thomas in Houston, Mark in Dallas. This routine works every time. In the defendant's box, Eleanor turned ghostly pale, and Sophia began crying, though Logan noted how she angled herself toward the jury, always performing. Next came the financial evidence. Forensic accountants exposed the intricate web of fraud, showcasing bank statements, wire transfers, and forged documents, all tracing back to Sophia and Eleanor. The most damning testimony came from Richard, who had taken a plea deal. Looking drained, he described their operation without holding back. They planned everything, he said, avoiding Sophia's glare. Mrs. Whitaker identified wealthy targets, and Sophia met them at upscale events. They even had a script for marriage proposals and fake pregnancies. They used doctors to confirm whatever they needed. I wasn't the first trainer they used, just the latest. During a recess, Nick found Logan in the hallway. The jury's eating this up, Nick said. You can see it in their faces every time we present something new. Good, May, Logan replied, adjusting his tie. Because we're just getting started. The trial spanned 2 weeks. Previous victims testified via video, sharing eerily similar accounts of deception and theft. Eleanor's former socialite friends testified, their disdain for her palpable. Sophia's carefully crafted persona unraveled as ex-accomplices described her role in the scams. In closing arguments, the prosecutor addressed the jury. The evidence is irrefutable, she said. These defendants operated a calculated criminal enterprise. They exploited false pregnancies, fabricated paternity claims, and engaged in complex financial fraud to steal millions. But they made one fatal error. they targeted Mr. Bennett, whose skills exposed their entire operation. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. On the count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On the count of identity theft? Guilty. Count by count, the verdicts came in. Guilty on all 47 charges. Each declaration further sealed Sophia and Eleanor's fate. The sentencing hearing attracted an even larger crowd than the trial. Logan sat in the front row, flanked by Nick and Vanessa, as Sophia and Eleanor were led into the courtroom in chains. Your Honor, the prosecutor began, the government seeks maximum sentences. These defendants showed no remorse. Their crimes devastated lives, drained savings, and exploited the sanctity of marriage and parenthood for profit. Eleanor's public defender made a final appeal. My client is a respected member of society. The judge interrupted sharply. The evidence demonstrates that Mrs. Whitaker orchestrated numerous frauds over several years. She corrupted her daughter into becoming a professional con artist. Sophia stood to deliver a statement, tears flowing. Your Honor, I was manipulated by my mother. Logan's voice rang out from the audience. Save it, Sophia. The cameras might be rolling, but this isn't one of your cons. The judge banged the gavel. Enough. Eleanor Whitaker, stand for sentencing. Eleanor rose shakily, her former poise replaced by fear. On 47 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and financial crimes, I sentence you to 18 years in federal prison. You will pay restitution totaling $12 million. Eleanor swayed, nearly collapsing. Sophia Bennett, the judge continued, your voluntary participation in these schemes, particularly the manipulation of paternity claims for financial gain, is reprehensible. I sentence you to 15 years in federal prison, full restitution, no parole. No, Sophia whispered, her voice breaking. Logan, please, you can't let this happen. The judge's gavel struck. Defendants will be remanded to federal custody immediately. As marshals led them away, Sophia tried one last time to catch Logan's eye. He didn't look back, walking out with his head held high. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Mr. Bennett, how does it feel to see justice served? Did you know your tech skills would uncover a criminal empire? Logan straightened his tie, facing the cameras. Justice was served. That's all I have to say. 6 months later, Logan hosted a celebration at his completely renovated home. Every trace of Sophia's influence was gone, replaced by sleek technology and modern design. To the new chief security officer, Nick said, raising his glass. TechCore had promoted Logan. His successful handling of the fraud case had become a key selling point for their security services. And karma, Vanessa quipped, holding up her tablet to display a news article. Check this out. Eleanor's prison memoir got rejected by every publisher. Apparently, no one's interested in the story of a failed con artist. Detective Moreno arrived shortly after, carrying updates. Richard's serving an 8-year sentence, she said, smiling. And let's just say he's not thrilled with the prison workout facilities. But the bigger news is the task force. The FBI wants to expand the investigation nationwide. Your case has opened the floodgates, exposing similar scams across the country. Logan's phone buzzed with a notification. Another letter from Sophia routed through the prison system. Like all the others, it was forwarded to the FBI's evidence file, unread. Still writing? Nick asked. Still failing, Logan replied with a frosty tone. Every manipulative sentence is just wasted paper, and every one of them extends her sentence. The evening wrapped up with Logan demonstrating his upgraded security systems. Multiple screens displayed his expanded operations, showcasing the scale of his work. TechCore's stock had skyrocketed, and their fraud detection software had become the industry benchmark. You know, Vanessa said, observing the setup. Sophia and Eleanor thought they were ruining you. Instead, they ended up making you more successful than ever. Ironic, Logan agreed, glancing at a notification. Speaking of which, Eleanor's appeal was just denied. Apparently, federal judges aren't fans of organized crime wrapped in designer suits. Later, alone in his study, Logan reviewed a final set of documents. Divorce papers, property transfers, legal notices, all meticulously filed as evidence of a victory won decisively. On his monitors, TechCore's global operations hummed with activity. Client requests poured in from around the world, all seeking the expertise of the man who had uncovered a vast fraud ring. His team was growing, and his methods were being adopted as textbook examples in digital investigations. As dawn began to paint the Austin skyline, Logan stepped into his backyard, watching the sunrise over his transformed life. His phone displayed messages from international clients, top industry executives, and even government agencies, all eager to collaborate with him. Nearby, in the garage, his Tesla had been replaced with a vehicle he had chosen, not to impress anyone, but simply because he wanted it. His success was built entirely on his own talents, the very ones Sophia and Eleanor had mocked. Mr. Bennett, his AI system announced, your morning briefing is ready. Global operations are exceeding projections.